Hey everybody, it's Eric from epautos.com, your libertarian car guy. Thought I'd try and do a quick walk around the Kia Stinger before it starts to pour. This car is absolutely worth taking a few minutes to look at and to talk about. I think it's certainly one of the most beautiful new cars on the market, period, at any price point. But that's only part of what makes it so appealing. The other thing that makes it appealing is that it's based on a rear-wheel drive architecture. And even better, you can pick one up for about $32,000, which is about the price you'd pay for a well-equipped front-wheel drive mid-sized sedan, just a regular old sedan, like a Camry or an Accord. Not that there's anything wrong with any of those cars, but they're not rear-wheel drive. Nor do they offer all-wheel drive, if you're into that, which you can get in this car. And in addition to that, you can also get a 365 horsepower twin-turbo V6 with rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, and you can get that for just under $40,000 if you can believe that. And there's literally nothing on the market that's competitive with that in terms of power, in terms of price, layout, performance, however you want to look at it. Oh, and while we're looking at it, let's look at something else that this car has. You look at it and you think, okay, it's a sleek-looking fastback sedan, right? Well, it's also something else. It's actually a liftback sedan. Kia has cleverly integrated this very, very practical feature into the car without making it look dumpy, as some other manufacturers have done, but making it very practical given the type of vehicle that it is. You've got a bit over 40 cubic feet of capacity back here, which, to give you some perspective, is, do the math in my head, easily 3 times the space that you would find inside the trunk of a typical conventional mid-size sedan with a trunk, something like a Camry or an Accord that has about 15-16 cubic feet, give or take. Even the Dodge Challenger and Chrysler 300, which are wonderful cars and also rear-wheel drive cars, are still laid out as conventional sedans, and while they have big trunks for the type of vehicle that they are, they still have nowhere near the amount of space and thus versatility that you've got with this Kia. You put it back down, and it's virtually impossible to tell that it's anything other than a really sleek and good-looking sports sedan. Now, some people will say, and I will say it freely, that yeah, there are some derivative cribbing touches. You might notice the scallops on the side and might think, well, they robbed the BMW parts bin. Maybe so. And if you go over to the rear, which is my favorite view of the thing, and if you look at the way the rump rises up to meet the glass, you might say, Tesla S, or Maserati. In fact, if you look at the font of the script that they've used, that's very Italian and very Maserati-esque. But I'll tell you something. Some of you may know the name Bill Mitchell. Bill Mitchell was the guy who designed the 63 Corvette Stingray split-window coupe, the 55-57 Chevy, and near and dear to my heart, the 1970 Camaro and Firebird, GM's famous F-cars. And he was accused way back when of having copied cars like the Ferrari 260 GTO of the 60s, and he admitted it and said, look, if you're going to commit robbery, why not rob a bank instead of a liquor store? And quite so, he was absolutely right. And I think Kia pretty much robbed the Federal Reserve here, and they gave us a discount. Let's see what else about this car. Let's have a look at the inside. Oh, and the other thing is, the roof height here is about 55 inches. So you would think, okay, this thing's probably going to have not much headroom. Actually, it has about the same headroom as you'd find in conventionally styled sedans like the Camry and the Accord. I'll have the actual specs up with my written review on the site, but it's very close. It's in fact, in some cases, it actually has slightly more headroom in the back than some conventional sedans, including, believe it or not, the Dodge Charger and Chrysler 300. It's got substantially more backseat headroom than it does in those cars. But there's plenty of room in here for a big tall geek like me. I'm 6'3". If it fits me, odds are it's probably going to fit you too. Now, if there is a weak point in the car, and I hate to use that term because it sounds kind of negative, it is that the interior's not quite up to the snuff of something like a in the $50,000 plus price range, like a BMW 5, let's say, or a Mercedes E, or a Lexus GS. You can still tell it's a Kia from the conventional style dashboard. It isn't a flat screen dashboard, and the infotainment screen is very similar to what you'd find in something like a Mazda 6. Not that there's anything wrong with it. And the bottom line is, this car costs about the same as those modestly priced cars, and it costs $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 less than anything that's in the luxury class that offers the kind of power, the performance, and the rear-wheel drive based layout that you get in this car. So it's really an impressive vehicle, and I've been very impressed during the week that I've had it. There is very little that I don't like about it. The only things that I've found so far are the following, and I've already done another video about this. One is that when you are trying to back out of a parking space, if you have the radio on, let's say you're listening to some music or you're listening to talk radio, the car will turn off the volume of the radio when you put the car in reverse. And that's something that a lot of car manufacturers are doing. It's not just Kia. They're doing it for safety, or at least to virtue signal that they love safety, because apparently everybody's so neurotically obsessed with this safety business, and they think that people can't back up a car anymore unless the radio is turned off. So that's one thing. It's a minor annoyance. The other thing is another minor annoyance that isn't Kia's fault. It's something that all the car companies are doing because they really don't have a lot of choice, and that is, here it is, the auto stop. And for those of you who haven't listened to my rants before on this topic, essentially, here's the deal. In order to squeeze out a tiny bit more fuel economy out of these cars, almost all new cars now will shut the engine off automatically when you come to a stop, like when you come to a red light. And then when you take your foot off the brake, the car will automatically restart the engine. But there's this kind of a paint shaker thing going on when that happens. Now, some cars are better than others. They've had I'll talk about how they've gotten better than others, and that's a whole nother thing. But the point is, you've got this annoyance of the engine constantly cycling on off unless you push the button. And they're set up so that you have to push that button every single time you go for a drive to disengage the system. So it's a minor irritation. But that said, that aside, nothing not to like about this car, nothing at all. And I'm ecstatic that somebody is bringing back rear-wheel drive architecture and at an affordable price. It seems the American car companies have largely given up on that, and God bless Kia for bringing it back. And I'm hoping that you can see in the angle the way the lines run on the side of this car. It has to be seen in person to truly appreciate how pretty it is. Anyway, I'll have the review up shortly on the site, and thanks for viewing, and we will catch up with you again next time.